If we are looking at someone who wants to start, the idea here is to be able to articulate clearly what needs to be done to start in that direction. Starting by answering, probably the most obvious question, which is, hey, I'm an SMB. I don't have internally the skills to do that. And, I'm also concerned that it might take ages to implement this project. It sounds great. We just discussed, some use cases. It sounds great. I see opportunity inside my environment, but I am afraid that one, I don't have the skills. Two, it will take ages.
Mhm. Yeah, that's a very valid point. And the reality is, look, there's a lot of software vendors out there. There's a lot of different ways of automating. There's even ways of being able to use, if you're technical enough, to use AI to build custom software to do this thing for you. The question is, it's sort of a choose your own adventure. So, the advice to give SMBs here in terms of where to start is, well, how far down the rabbit hole do you want to go? The spectrum is you can go buy an off the shelf automation engine that you can use yourself to build your own custom automation and manage it. The challenge there is, the cost is acceptable actually. It's not that expensive to get up and running. It's just a challenge of managing that over time. It requires a little bit of a depth of technical skill set, and then you just managing and maintaining that over time. So it's sort of like high value over time if you've got the willingness and the ability and the skill set to put in the work necessary to customize the thing for you. Then there's the opposite side of the spectrum, which is sort of where the work.com platform comes in, which is we'll just do all of the work for you. And so there is a means through which you can find vendors like us, and we're not the only ones, where you can go in and describe your process. It'll get automated for you. You get an extension of an automation team that will help you manage this over time. And you will still also get access to the platform so that you can learn over time and then be able to become a self-service sort of like user of automation over time, right? I think that one of the great byproducts of people engaging so much with AI platforms like ChatGPT and Gemini and Anthropic and others is they've seen the capabilities and skill sets of some of these intelligent autonomous agents, which means that they're starting to realize that maybe I don't need to be as technical as I thought that I might have to be able to automate myself. And so there are, again, platforms like ours that enable you to be able to take advantage of that to be able to automate yourself. So automation shouldn't be a scary word. It is not a multi-months, tens of thousands of dollars in deployments. In fact, most of our clients are up and running in under a week, and most workflows will cost you less than a few $1,000s to get up and running and automated. So when you do the price comparison of the hundreds of employee hours that it saves you annually to spend $2,000 to $3,000 to automate, a process, I mean, I think the ROI is pretty clear.
Yeah, and that's really important to talk about this notion that you're not gonna be burning cash and not getting the return, right? So this is really important for people to realize that it is entirely possible, although when you look at it from the outside and you are not fully technical, fully knowledgeable, it looks very complex. Looks like you're gonna need many, many, many tools in order to automate. It looks like it will be very expensive. It will be difficult to implement, difficult to maintain, right? So this is really important here that we are able to stress that point that it is possible when you are using the right tool, the right platform to do it with a very well managed, well controlled budget within, as you said, a week is extremely fast, right? People have in mind it would take me 6 months to do it. So could you maybe try to, according to your experience with your clients and the market, um, do we need, very expensive tools? Do we need many tools? Or is there possibility, option, solution to have a place where you select the platform, you get everything from it within a reasonable price and time frame?
Yeah, I think we're going through a pretty significant transformation in the technological ecosystem in general, in that previously, you had to have an ERP and then a CRM and then all of your productivity tools and so forth. I think the world is starting to consolidate because predominantly of AI and automation. And so I think if you're an SMB today, you really need to think about your operating stack. What are the things that you really need to be able to deliver the outcome that you need for your clients? And so let's say you run a plumbing shop and you've got, I don't know, maybe five or a few locations. And so you probably need some form of a fleet management software just to manage your plumbers' times and access. You need some form of like a book, appointment booking software. Usually they're all, like Service Titan is a great example of that. And then a payment processing, engine. So like that already covers everything, right? Then everything else is probably going to be communications protocol over email, phone calls, and then billing, right? So that's your accounting software. So if you look at previously, you used to have like a customer success, management software like Zendesk, and then, the booking thing, and then your accounting software, and then your email communication. So I think you're going to start seeing that you can actually start consolidating and minimizing the number of software tools. So step number one for me would be really ask yourself, what is the operating stack that I need to use to really have the most comprehensive set of functionalities that I need. And then thereafter, honestly, everything else can be solved with automation. So if you think about the life cycle, so what I encourage our clients to do, or prospects to do as well, is sit down with a pen and a paper and map out the journey of your customer, right? So if I'm a plumber, well, someone's finding me online or through some of the marketing that I'm doing. They're calling in or submitting a request for an appointment. They're describing what their problem is. We're calling them to book a meeting. And then sort of like we're sending the plumber, they do the work. And then, we send them the invoice. Then either they pay or we chase them to pay. And then maybe we try and remarket them for other things in the future. And once you've mapped all of this out on a piece of paper, just sort of like your client's journey, then let's figure out what is the piece of software that would enable you to have the predominant majority of these functions or actions performed in one platform. And then everything else, let's start thinking about how do we automate these steps, right? So, for example, we just rolled out recently an AI voice agent. And if you haven't checked out voice agents, you absolutely should because the voice agents are like really incredible these days to be able to book the service appointments on your behalf. So when someone submits a request on your website, we'll call them right away. Hi, you just submitted a request for a plumber. What's the best available time? I know that you think that people still like to do the things online. They don't. They still want to do things on the phone, especially for these types of service calls. And more often than not, home services types of businesses struggle with keeping up with the volume of phone calls, right? So then that's where you start covering in the gap. So minimize the number of software that you need to use, solve everything else with automation, be more automation forward and AI forward. And that's really going to transform your business completely from a efficiencies perspective.
Yes, fully agreed. And in the automation space, exactly the same, right? So people are a bit more technical listening to us. They might say, okay, I need an AI tool, I need an automation tool, I need an OCR tool, I need something for API, I need this, I need that. I would say in those cases, simplicity is the ultimate sophistication, right? So if you can have a one-stop shop where you can go and get everything to do to automate the use cases that you are targeting, this is even better, right? Simplicity is really what we need to aim for here and not to get lost into very complex setup that ultimately will not yield ROI.
Yeah, yeah, precisely. The other bit too that I think is really interesting that's happening in the space is I think most, because we were talking about pricing previously, most small, medium-sized businesses are also very price sensitive and price conscious, and that rightfully so, right? I think every dollar here makes a material impact on the bottom line of those businesses. And so starting to pick vendors that have a differentiated pricing model, I think is pretty important. The software industry is going through a transformation right now. Work.com chooses to charge a transactional consumption-based model, which means that you pay per outcome. You pay per unit of result that we deliver. You don't pay a monthly subscription fee or an annual fee or anything like that. And the reason we do it is because it's just for us, it's more honest. We deliver your work, you pay for it. We don't deliver your work, you don't pay for it. And so you're not, if your shop is closed, for the Christmas break, why are you paying for a monthly license that you're not using? And we're not the only ones. Many other software vendors are starting to move in that direction as well. So start being more discerning with who you choose as your software vendor because it'll just make you a lot more efficient and optimize your costs as well.
Yeah, and to that point, this outcome-based mindset, outcome-based pricing is extremely interesting, especially when we know that in some areas in the automation space, up to 50, 60% of the licenses that have been acquired by company are sitting on the shelf. So, this is basically clearly saying that you will end up uh, not fully maximizing your investment. So this approach of pay as you use or outcome-based pricing is definitely the way to go.
Yeah, yeah, completely. And I think you can also start being more uh more demanding of your software vendors because I think they're starting to realize that the power is starting to revert back to the consumer. The other thing too that I think is going to be starting to be a bit of a trend is um, using organizations that have sophisticated AI to build custom software for you again. So I feel like we're sort of like making a bit of a weird go back. Remember when you used to go to the store and buy a CD with Microsoft Word and that you would own it forever? I think that world is coming back a little bit. So I would encourage the SMBs to also think about what pieces of software do I use today that maybe aren't worth this sort of like monthly or annual price that I pay, that I could maybe go and invest maybe 20, $30,000 to build or rebuild completely for my own custom needs, because now the custom dev shops are significantly better suited, more, aptly priced because now you can code with AI. So you're still getting a really strong outcome, but for a much, much cheaper, price point.